The hum of the airport was constant, rolling suitcases, murmured announcements, and the faint scent of coffee lingering in the air. It was one of those Monday mornings when everyone seemed to be in a rush, each person wrapped in their own little world of meetings, deadlines, and destinations. Among the passengers at Gate 47 stood Marcus Hale, a tall, broad-shouldered man in his early 40s. His dark tailored suit fit perfectly, the kind of quiet elegance that didn't need a label to be noticed. His calm eyes scanned the digital board displaying Flight 302 to New York, and he adjusted his cufflinks, simple, silver, with initials MH engraved on them. Marcus was the CEO of one of the fastest growing tech companies in the world, Hale Dynamics, but you wouldn't know it from his demeanor. He preferred to blend in, to travel without fanfare or assistance. For him, flying was a time to think, to breathe between boardrooms and billion-dollar deals. He had just finished a week of negotiations in Dallas, exhausting meetings, constant media coverage, and late-night strategy sessions. Now all he wanted was a quiet seat in first class, a coffee, and maybe a few hours of peace before his next meeting in Manhattan. As boarding began, Marcus moved toward the gate with his ticket in hand. The gate attendant, a young woman named Chloe, scanned it without looking up. "Good morning," Marcus greeted politely. Chloe gave a brief nod and glanced at his ticket. Her expression changed. Sir," she said, her tone suddenly curt. "This line is for first-class passengers only." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Yes, I know. That's my seat." She frowned. "Are you sure?" "Because," she hesitated, eyeing him from head to toe, her voice lowering, "this line is for priority passengers." Marcus's smile faded slightly. He kept his tone calm. "That's me." She took the ticket again, looking at it longer this time. Her discomfort was visible now, the slight flush of her cheeks, the way her eyes darted between the ticket and Marcus. "I'm sorry, sir," she said, forcing a polite smile, "but this seat appears to be reserved. There might be an issue with your upgrade." Marcus didn't argue. "All right," he said quietly, "I'll wait." As the first-class passengers boarded, a few glanced curiously at the exchange. Some with sympathy, others with disinterest. Marcus stepped aside, waiting patiently as others moved past him. A few minutes later, an older flight attendant, Nancy, with years of experience written in the lines of her face, came to the gate. She checked the manifest and nodded toward Marcus. "A Mr. Hale?" "A Mr. Hale?" she asked warmly. "Yes." "Right this way, sir. Your seat's ready." Chloe's mouth fell open slightly, but she said nothing as Marcus thanked Nancy and walked through the jet bridge. Inside the plane, the difference between coach and first class was immediate. The soft leather seats, the hushed atmosphere, the faint scent of citrus from freshly cleaned trays. Marcus took his seat in 1A, set his briefcase down, and opened his tablet. He didn't think about the gate incident much. It wasn't the first time someone had assumed he didn't belong somewhere. It wasn't anger that he felt. Just that familiar mix of weariness and quiet disappointment. As passengers settled in, another attendant, Claire, came by to offer a drink. She was new, her uniform crisp, her smile rehearsed but kind. "Champagne, sir." "A coffee black," Marcus replied. She nodded and returned with his cup a minute later. But as she set it down, she hesitated, her eyes flicking over him with a strange look. Sir, I'm sorry," she said slowly. "I need to check your ticket again." Marcus looked up, mildly surprised. "Is there a problem? I just need to confirm your seat," she said. Without a word, Marcus handed over his ticket. Claire scanned it, frowning. There must be some mistake. This seat is supposed to be for Mr. Randall, our Platinum Elite member. Marcus sighed quietly. "I booked this seat 2 weeks ago." Claire's lips tightened. "I understand, but I'll need to ask you to step to the back while we sort this out." Her voice wasn't loud, but it was firm enough that a few nearby passengers turned their heads. Marcus stayed calm, though his jaw clenched. "We're asking me to leave first class?" "Just until we confirm," she said, glancing nervously toward the cockpit. Before he could respond, Nancy, the senior attendant, appeared again. Claire," she said sharply, "what's going on?" "This gentleman might be in the wrong seat," Claire explained quickly. "I think," Nancy interrupted, her voice cool but edged. No, he's in the right seat." "Mr. Hale, is it confirmed first-class passenger?" Claire blinked. But." No buts," Nancy said firmly. "Get back to pre-boarding prep." The young attendant flushed red and retreated, but Marcus caught the look she gave him. a mix of embarrassment and irritation. Nancy turned to Marcus with an apologetic smile. "I'm so sorry for that, sir. We'll take care of everything." All right," Marcus said quietly. "I'm used to it." Nancy's eyes softened. "You shouldn't have to be." The plane soon took off. Marcus leaned back, trying to shake off the incident, but the tension in the air didn't fade. Claire avoided his section entirely, her movements stiff and mechanical whenever she passed by. Midway through the flight, the captain made an announcement. Turbulence ahead. Seatbelt signs flicked on. Marcus set his tablet aside and looked out the window as the plane rocked gently. Then came the voice over the intercom again, but it wasn't the captain this time. "Ladies and gentlemen," Nancy said, her tone unusually stern, "I need to make a brief announcement." The cabin quieted. "I want to personally apologize for the unprofessional behavior displayed earlier by one of our attendants," she continued. "Our airline does not tolerate discrimination or disrespect toward any passenger. Effective immediately, that crew member will not be continuing service on this flight." A stunned silence followed. Heads turned. Claire stood frozen near the galley, her face pale. Nancy walked calmly toward her, whispered something, and within minutes, under the quiet gaze of dozens of passengers, Claire gathered her things and was escorted by the co-pilot to the back of the plane. The tension broke only when a man across the aisle, a silver-haired business traveler, muttered, "Good. About time someone stood up for that." Marcus said nothing. He wasn't vindictive. Watching Claire go didn't give him satisfaction, only sadness. Nancy approached him again. "Mr. Hale," she said softly, "I wanted to thank you for how you handled that. Some people would have caused a scene. You stayed calm." Marcus gave a small nod. "Thank you, but I don't like seeing anyone lose their job." Nancy hesitated, then smiled faintly. "Well, you may want to know." The captain requested this. "He said he saw the way you were treated and wanted to make sure it never happens again. You didn't just stand up for yourself, sir. You stood up for everyone who's ever been judged before being known." Marcus looked out the window again, the city lights of New York glowing faintly beneath the clouds. He felt a quiet heaviness in his chest. Not anger, not pride, just reflection. When the flight landed, the passengers disembarked one by one. Marcus was the last to leave. Nancy met him at the door. "Up and do?" "Mr. Hale," she said, "if you ever fly with us again, you'll always have a seat waiting. No questions asked." He smiled gently. "Thank you, Nancy. Nancy, and please make sure she's okay. People make mistakes." Nancy's eyes widened slightly at his words. "You're a better man than Marcus gave a modest shrug. "I just believe in second chances." As he walked through the terminal, a few passengers glanced his way. Not because he was a CEO or a public figure, but because they had witnessed something rare, quiet strength. Outside, a young reporter waiting for another arrival recognized him. "Mr. Hale." "Marcus Hale," she called, hurrying toward him. "Were you on Flight 302? We heard there was an incident on board." Marcus paused, adjusting his bag. "Yes," he said, his tone steady. "Can you comment on what happened?" He smiled faintly. "It's just a misunderstanding, but the staff handled it." "That was it true someone was fired?" Marcus thought for a moment, then said quietly, "I don't like that word. Let's just say someone learned something today." The reporter scribbled furiously in her notepad. "Thank you, sir." He nodded politely and walked away, blending into the crowd once again. Hours later, the story spread, not from Marcus, but from another passenger who'd been there. The post went viral overnight. "I just watched a black man, calm, composed, and clearly intelligent, get told he didn't belong in first class. Turns out he was Marcus Hale, CEO of Hale Dynamics. The flight attendant who tried to remove him got fired mid-flight. But here's what shocked me most. The man didn't gloat, didn't yell, didn't demand anything. He just said, people make mistakes. I've never seen class like that before. By morning, Marcus's inbox was flooded. Messages from employees, strangers, even other CEOs all saying the same thing. Thank you for showing what real leadership looks like. But Marcus didn't respond to any of them. He was sitting by his office window, coffee in hand, watching the sunrise over Manhattan. The city below was just waking up, unaware of the quiet lesson that had unfolded at 30,000 feet. For Marcus, it wasn't about headlines or justice. It was about something far simpler. The reminder that dignity doesn't need to shout to be heard. And sometimes the loudest lesson comes from the quietest man in the room.